Hello, everyone. A very good evening to all of you. Thanks for joining us. And thanks, Keya, for being a part of this session. During the survey that we had taken before this session, I saw that a lot of you are not Jamboree students. So for those of you who are not Jamboree students, I will just spend a minute talking about Jamboree. So we have been around since 1993. We train students on exams such as the GMAT, GRE, SAT, TOEFL, IELTS, ACT, PSAT, etc. And we help students with their applications. We help students make their profiles, etc. To apply to the universities which accept these exams. Unlike other institutes, we do not train students on tons of exams, right? We do not train students on the CAT exams or the IIT JEE preparations, etc. We focus on a very limited number of exams. We train students on this handful of exams, and we do a very good job of it, right? Our students have scored highly, since the time we started. Every year, around 40% of our students end up getting a 1450 or more on the SAT exam. We have 39 physical centers across 22 cities in 4 countries. We are also present digitally. So we have been training students online since 2012. Therefore, when the pandemic hit and we went into lockdown, we were able to transition very smoothly into online teaching. Our students, our faculty, they have been teaching our students online since March, actually March of 2020. Some of you who are here, probably you have taken all our classes online. So now that we are opening up, hopefully in a couple of months, we our centers will be open. And that's where we differentiate ourselves from the other companies who teach only online. Unlike other companies who teach only online, our students, they have the option of walking into any of our 39 centers and speaking to a faculty one-on-one, right? So in short, you can say that at Jamboree we give you the best of both worlds. You can learn online because if it is convenient to you, if and when required, you can walk into any of our physical centers and interact with the faculty if you think that's going to help your preparation, right? All right. So I noticed that a lot of you are not Jamboree students. So if you want, if any of you wants a demo SAT class, or anyone here, if you want a profile evaluation session, we'd be happy to have that, give that to you. You can leave your number in the chat along with the city that you are from. So anyone who wants a demo, a free demo SAT class or a profile evaluation session, please leave your phone number in the chat along with the city that you are from. So in the profile evaluation session, you can discuss, what kind of universities you can at our target, or for your current profile, what's the SAT score that you should be targeting. Or if you have a particular university in mind, you can discuss with an admissions counselor about, what kind of profile you should have to get to stand a fighting chance, to have a fighting chance for admission in that university. So if you're interested in anything of this, just leave your number with the name of the city that you are from. You don't have to leave your names. I can see your names are appearing. So you don't waste time typing out your names, just your number and the city that you are from. I see a lot of you typing, so I'll just pause for a minute here to let you complete the typing. So while you continue to type out your details, I'll just go on to the next segment. I'll very quickly let you know. Some of you are probably new in the whole process. You may have questions about what are the admissions criteria, what do universities look at before deciding whether to give you an admission offer or not. So I'll just quickly list down those factors. Standardized test score, either the SAT or the ACT, TOEFL or IELTS, one of the language tests. Your academic record means your class 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th midterms and predicted grades, of course. If you are already done with class 12, then your class 12 marks as well. So academic record starts from class 9th. So unlike Indian universities, it's not only class 10th and class 12th, the whole thing, right from class ninth. Your any kind of academic enhancements that you may have gone through, that means AP exams or subject tests, etc., etc., online courses, summer school, any of these things, your the whole course portfolio. That means if you want to do a course in psychology, if you want to do a bachelor's degree in computer science, so what have you done, to indicate to the university that you are really interested in that program. Your extracurricular activities can be very varied. It can be sports, painting, anything to do with music, or maybe you write, your hobby maybe writing, etc. So any kind of extracurricular activities. Community service is also a big piece here, obviously. And your letters and essays and letters of recommendation. So as essays and letters of recommendation, that they form a part of the online application form that you will submit, right? So that happens the year when you are applying to, right? So if you are targeting for the fall 2023 session, for instance, then you will be submitting your applications in 2022. So the online application forms of that year. So that's the essays and letters of recommendation will form a part of that. Some of the top universities like Yale, for instance, so they also have an interview round, right? So if they like your profile, so they may want to interview you, right? So the interviews at the bachelor's degree level happens only at 1% of the universities, but yeah, so an interview also sometimes is a part of the application process. So these are the admissions criteria. And when we say profile, this is what we mean. So it's not just your academic marks, it's not just your SAT scores. This whole piece, this is what the profile is. Now you have to work equally hard on your essays, equally hard on your extracurricular activities, how to portray those extracurricular activities to the admissions committee. So how can you differentiate yourself, from students who say that they have done a lot of things. How can you demonstrate to the universities that you have actually done them, right? So all of those things, go into profile building. All right, so without much ado, so I would like to invite Keya. So Keya, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Right, Keya. So she's our star speaker today, so to say. So, Kia, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
yeah,
Where
sure.
are you from? Where have you done your schooling from, etc.?
Mhm. Hi everyone. My name is Keya Gupta. I am 17 years old. I was born and raised in New Delhi, and my high school is DPS Puram. Um, I applied restrictive early action to Yale University in October of 2020, and I got admitted. And I'm not sure what I want to major in yet, but my prospective major is either psychology or ethnicity, race, and migration. And during my high school years, I was also very heavily involved in music and dance. So I would say those are the major factors that stood out extracurricular wise.
So, when did you know, or when did you realize that you want to do your bachelor's degree in the US?
I think from just a very young age, my sister also studies at a US university, and I was very attracted by the liberal arts system. I wasn't sure what I wanted to major in, and I realized that the liberal arts education would give me access to a lot of different disciplines so that I would really be able to make my choice. And I wanted an education which was more about the width rather than diving deeply into one, which a lot of other countries' universities are more focused on. So, I would say from about seventh or eighth grade, I knew I definitely wanted to apply to US university because I wanted to study in a liberal arts. I wanted to get a liberal arts education.
So, if you don't mind, what are your academics like?
Um, I, s- from about ninth to 12th, I went to my board secondary is a CBSE. That's the board that's followed in DPS Puram. So in ninth, 10th, and 11th, I scored above in ninth and 10th I scored 97%. In 11th grade I had a 93%, and in my 12th half yearlies I had a 92%. So I would say that whenever you're applying to a top college in the US, it's very important to make sure that your grades are consistent, and if not consistent, they at least they have to show an upward trend. You have to, I think, probably scoring above a 90% it is definitely a safe, it's a good GPA, and it's definitely what the top colleges are looking for. So it's grades are an extremely important part of the application because the colleges want to know if you be able to keep up with their course work, because in some certain cases they're extremely difficult and at a high level, especially to what we're used to in India. So grades, I would definitely say, are a very important part, and to keep above a 90%, I would say for CBSE students is mandatory.
What was your SAT score?
Yes. So my SAT score was the 1540. I got a 740 in the reading and writing section and an 800 in the math. And I took the essay part as well, and I got a 19 in my essay.
And did you take the SAT only once or did you take it multiple times?
Yeah, so I took my SAT twice. Once was in October when I was in 11th grade, and that time I got a 1450 with a 650 in my reading and writing and an 800 in my math. I took it again because I wasn't happy with my English score. The second time I took it, it was in December, and that time I got the score that I wanted to. I For the SAT, I would definitely say that start preparing for it in advance. If possible, then get done with it while you're in 11th grade, because in 12th grade there's so many other things for your applications that are necessary, for example your essays and any last minute resume building, and to leave your testing to the last moment would be extremely stressful. And it's also bad because in case you don't get the score that you want to and you want to take the exam again, you want to be able to make sure that you have enough time to register and to prepare again.
Kia, did you take any SAT subject tests also?
No, I did not take any SAT subject test, and I did not take any APs either. I was registered to give the SAT subject test, but then COVID happened and a lot of schools began going test optional, and a lot of universities like Yale said they won't even consider subject tests at all for my admission cycle. So I just didn't find any point in giving them, especially in the year that I was applying. So I didn't give them.
And did you take the TOEFL
Yes, I did.
language? Okay.
I gave the TOEFL about in I think the starting of 11th grade, and I got an 1113 in it. Then the TOEFL, again, a lot of people think it's only mandatory because you need to prove to US colleges that you are eligible to even conduct like even take classes in English, which is basically what they want to see. So all they're concerned is with getting a pass in it. But I would definitely say that even in TOEFL, it's important, I think, to get like above 100, 110, just because you don't want to leave any gaps in your application where the colleges would feel that you're lacking.
So, Kia, what kind of extracurricular activities are you involved in?
So from a really young age, I would say from about 7 or 8, I've been doing ballet, and in high school, I was also the captain of my school's dance team. I was also a part of this ballet company called IFPC. I trained with them for several years, took part in a lot of shows, and I was also an assistant teacher for younger batches for about a year. And that so dance was a very strong part of my application. The other strong part, I would say, was music. I've been playing the piano since I was about 6 or 7, and I right now I'm going up for my ATCL exam, which is equivalent to a first year undergraduate diploma in music. So I've also had a few programs abroad that I've been selected for to play, and I'm also very heavily involved with Delhi School of Music. And I took a lot of exams just to prove that my playing was up there. And I also have a YouTube and Instagram channel. The third part of my application, I would say, would be community service. I have been volunteering with an animal shelter since I was about 10 or 11, and I did it almost every weekend for several years. And I got awarded by a minister for my efforts, so that was also a strong part. The fourth thing was I was president of student council at my high school, and I was also member of the council in like 4 5 other years as well. um, the last thing I would say that was really strong in my application is that I had a few internships, I had a few summer courses that I had taken, and that was probably all that was really strong about it. Of course, there were a few things here and there that I added that I did in my 12th grade.
So in summer schools, what are the summer school programs that you took?
Yeah. So in 10th grade, I went to Stanford Pre-Collegiate Institutes. I did a linguistics course over there. It was a 3 week residential program on the Stanford campus. And I had to, so for these kind of summer programs, I think it's good to definitely do your research beforehand, because not all of them are as prestigious as one might think. And all of them are for different kinds of students, for offer different kinds of resources. The Stanford pre-collegiate I had to apply to, and you also have to make sure that you meet like the application deadline. I had to apply to the Stanford program, I think, in December, and the program was actually in July of the next year. In 11th grade, I went to the Ashoka Young Scholars program, which was kind of designed to give students an insight into what a liberal arts education looks like. That was also a 1 week residential program on the Ashoka campus. Again, for that, I had to apply. For that, it was not just simply you given your name and you're immediately enrolled in. In Then in 11th grade, I also did a piano program abroad in Budapest, Hungary. Again, I had to apply for that as well, which was just in set in this, which was taught by professors from the Least Academy of Music. In 12th grade, I was planning to apply to the Yale Global Young Global YYGS, which is the Yale Young Global Scholars Program. But because of COVID, I did not end up applying to it. But I do know a lot of my friends who did apply for it and had a really good time over there.
Right. And did you do any online courses, etc., with universities?
So actually, this year I did an online course from Cornell. They were offering a credits course, and mine was using big data to. The course that I took was called "Using Big Data to Solve Big Policy Problems," which was basically at the intersection of data with social sciences and public policy. So it was aimed at looking into issues like income inequality, housing inequality, COVID mitigation, and I did that, and I think that genuinely helped me, because not just from the academic point, from the college point of view, but also for helping me decide what I really genuinely liked studying, and also just to give me an insight into how those courses are actually taught in college. And it was also a credit course, which I find good, because later in college, whenever I need the credits, I can always avail of them.
Right, right. So at Yale, no, so did you apply as an undecided major, or what was the major that you applied for?
So Yale has they give you three options to pick as your major. So my first one was psychology, the second one was computer science, and the third one was ethnicity, race, and migration. So none of it is at Yale. They only have one undergraduate colleges as compared to other like UPenn has about 2 to 3 undergraduate colleges. It's very like Northwestern has like 4 or 5. So it varies from school to school, but Yale only has one undergraduate college called the Yale College. So any academic major that you apply for during your undergrad is not binding. So even though I applied for psychology, and that's what I wrote about in all of my essays, that I'm not, I can always switch in my major later whenever I go to college. And what at least what other some other colleges have is that your major can always be undecided. You only have to declare it by the end of your second year. But in some colleges, you can only you're only restricted to the school that you apply to, whether it be like the School of Journalism or the School of Business or the School of Arts and Sciences. So you have to be careful of that before you apply as well.
Right, right. So, when did you start your applications, the essays and all? How much time did you give to that process?
Yeah. In 11th grade, I would have, in 11th grade, I finished with my testing. So I think I'm really grateful to that, for that, because I know how stressed so many of my friends were during 12th grade, because testing periods just kept getting cancelled. And I think till COVID is not properly resolved, I would say that just whoever's in 11th or whoever's in, just starting out, well, just try to get done with your testing as soon as possible so that you have time. I started with my essays, I think in the beginning of 12th grade, which was April last year. I did them in my essays in gaps. So I did them like, I did my first round in April, I did my second round in August, and the rest I did in October. um, Advantages of that, I would definitely say, is when I started in April, I could pinpoint while writing my essays where the gaps in my application was. For example, the biggest gap that I think I found was that I did not have any particular academic accomplishments extracurricular wise. I had a lot of other extracurriculars in music and dance and community service, which were extremely strong, but I did not have any particular academic accomplishment. So that's when in the summer I took up my Cornell course, and also did an internship just to cover that gap. And also, I think it's very important to start your essays at the beginning of your senior year, because coming, especially as an Indian student, we're all at a disadvantage because often our schools do not prepare us for writing, whereas American schools do. We're often coming from CBSE schools where the main focus is rote learning rather than reading and analysis and writing. So, as Indian students, we're definitely at a disadvantage. So, it's very important to prepare ahead so that you give yourself plenty of time in order to catch up. I think I had no experience with writing before my college process, and starting ahead in April gave me a lot of learning into how the essays are to be framed, how I'm supposed to write them as well. And it also didn't allow me to get, also starting early and spreading them like across a period of time allowed me to take breaks and not get burnt out, which is, I think, a very very important factor to all the like students listening today. The application process is such that it's not just very physically draining but also mentally draining, and you don't want to get so caught up in it that by the time you get to college you're actually burnt out. So definitely do give yourself a lot of breaks in the middle when you're writing your essays, because I think that's the toughest part of the application, trying to present yourself on about like 10-15 pages of paper and actually deciding who you are and what you want to present to the college admissions officers. So I would say my biggest advice is just start very very early, even if you think you might not need it. Trust me, like the time really counts.
You mentioned that you took an internship to help you, like, bolster your academic accomplishments. So can you elaborate which internship was this? Where did you do it? What was the duration, etc.?
Yeah. So I did basically my internship was again focused around data science, computer science, intersecting that with political science. So it was done at the Trivedi Center of Political Data. So I was an intern over there, and I applied for the internship, and I had like a call and stuff, and then I got it. I think for to apply for internships, definitely first of all you need to do a lot of research, because in India there are not a lot of firms or think tanks which are actually looking to take in high school interns, because we're not technically qualified to actually do any constructive work. So I had to look it up, and basically in my internship what I did is was mainly focused on building a data set on the Indian cabinet of ministers. I think my internship helped me in pinpointing that I really wanted to study an intersection of computers with a social science, which is mainly a lot what I wrote about in my Yale application, that having had experience of combining computer science with political science, I wanted to apply the same I wanted to apply the same understanding to college as well, at the intersection of computer science and psychology. So I think the internship really helped to prove my interest in that field.
Which other universities did you apply to, and have you heard from any of them?
Yeah, so actually Yale was my first decision, and I haven't heard from any other colleges yet. I have applied to Yale, Stanford, Harvard, Princeton. Those were my reach colleges. And apart from that, I applied to one safety, which was UNC Chapel Hill. And I also applied to the UCs. I haven't heard from any of them yet.
Okay. Okay. Which UCs, or would you remember?
UCLA and University of San Diego.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So at any point of time, did you other than the academic accomplishment part, did you struggle with your SAT preparation or any other point of your application?
Mhm. I would say the toughest part of my application was definitely the essays. I think in general, I'm just a very shy person. So, and the essay process is such that it requires you to be extremely vulnerable because at times you're writing about very sensitive topics or topics that are very, very close to you, and you perhaps haven't even talked about them to anyone else ever in your life. And to write about them to a person you've never even met, you don't even know who's going to read your application in some random college located far away. It's definitely very nerve wracking. I think that's what it was for me. I think just having no writing background and just trying to see how to build a concise image of myself, because one of the fears that I had was that I wasn't great at any one particular extracurricular activity. Like I wasn't like an international sportsman or, award winning like writer or something. That wasn't just one activity that was defining my application. I had several activities which were good but not great, which is totally fine. Whatever path you want to take is totally okay. But I was just confused with how to bring that identity together, because one of the most important aspects of your essays is that they don't want to test how good you are at writing, but they want to test how what the kind of person you really are. And colleges like Yale are really looking to have a diverse student body. So that's what I was confused with, how to build a concise image that an admissions officer would be able to understand within like 10-15 minutes. And I think by the end of my essay writing, I think the identity, at least what I think was presented to Yale, was I think a person who's just very interested in psychology and computer science, and also having a huge background in community service and performing arts. And I know it sounds like very vague right now, but it's very important that each and every question that you're writing in that somehow relates back to your personality.
So, what resources did you use for your SAT preparation?
Yeah. So I studied with Jamboree to for my SAT. I think studying with an institute for standardized testing is always better, because again, the SAT does not measure how good you are at math. Like in my school math, I was not bad, but I would say I was average. Whereas in the SAT, I got an 800 on my math section. So again, the SAT does not measure how good you are at English or math or writing, but it mainly measures how good you are at taking the SAT, because it's a particular type of exam pattern that you have to get used to. And I think Jamboree really helped me with understanding the like giving me the small tips here and there that is important when you're giving an exam. And it just gave me a lot of made a lot of the concepts that I had difficulty in very way easier. And it also allowed me to just realize how important certain aspects while preparing are. For example, I remember I took about, I would say, like 20 to 30 practice tests before I went in for my exam, because it's extremely important to because on the SAT the timing is a huge factor. I think the first time when I gave it, the reason why I didn't get a good score in the English is because I messed up on the timing. So practice tests just really helped me to make sure I was always staying on the clock. And because it's very important for your body to replicate the exam conditions as they are going to be on the test day. That's the most important factor.
And Yale has an interview round too, right? So how did you? How was your interviewing experience?
So Yale has an interview round. So the thing is that not everyone who is admitted into Yale gets an interview, and not everyone who gets an interview is admitted. So the main purpose of the interview is simply that at times the colleges want to get an insight into a little more better insight into who you are if they feel that there's any extra information that they want to know about you. I did get an interview. I got my, so the college interviews are not as stressful as one might think. They're not as formal or as rigorous as job interviews are. It's mainly conducted with an alumni from the institution. So I had a man who was graduated from Yale about 2 years ago, and he's now going to law school. So he reached out to me via email, I think about the end of November. I submitted my application the end of October, so about after 1 month, I got the email. It was just simply that, hi, my name is so and so, this is the major that I did, and when would be a good time to speak. So Yale offers you a choice to take the interview. So you don't have to take it if you don't want to. But of course, 100%, I would definitely recommend that you take it. So what I did is I just replied to him immediately. Try to tell them that you try to get back to them as soon as possible, because obviously just that just represents a better image of yourself. My interview, the normal interview, I would say would goes on for about half an hour to 1 hour. My interview went on for a really long time. It went on for 3 hours. It was conducted via Zoom. Usually, it is conducted in person. They try to reach out to alumni who live around the area that you live in so that you can meet in person. But this year, because of COVID, every interview was conducted online on Zoom. So in my interview lasted for 3 hours. I think just because we got into a really interesting conversation, and I would say definitely the longer your interview goes on, it's definitely better. There are about 2-3 questions that every interviewer asks. One is, why do you want to go to the particular university? Like I was asked why I wanted to go to Yale. Second is what academic area that you're interested in and why you're interested in it. Third is they always ask you to begin the interview with telling a little bit about yourself. So you normally have like 90-second elevator pitch at the beginning. And the fourth is the interviewer always asks if you want to ask him any questions at the end of the interview. So definitely do have questions about the college, about and they don't have to be just restricted to Yale. For example, I asked my interviewer a lot about his experiences in high school. He went to boarding school, so I asked him about that, a lot about his experiences at Yale. So just make and a lot of questions based on the conversation that we had. So just definitely have some questions at the end. I would say like 3 to 4 questions for them. The interview was mainly just like a conversation. The whole purpose is that they just want to get to know you. And the most important aspect, and probably the most cliched advice, but it's very important, that just be yourself. There's no particular one answer that they're looking for. If they were, then they won't really be conducting the interview in the first place. Again, I'm stressing on this, that institutions like Yale are extremely focused on inculcating a diverse class. So be sure to get across your interests in high school, your academic interests. Don't be nervous, because remember that the interviewer was at your position at one point of time. Just try to tell them as much as about yourself. In my interview, we talked a lot about music, about dance. He asked me what I thought about psychology and computer science. He asked me a lot of my experiences. I told him that I really like traveling, so he asked me about that as well. We spoke about a few of the cultural exchanges that I'd done in school. We also spoke about like the affirmative action thing, cast in India. Like that's literally the extent to which the interview can go on till. So in a way, there's not really any particular way in which to prepare for it. So just be yourself, I would say.
Right. That's interesting, that's interesting. So, so some of you, are probably already students of this. At Jamboree, we have a comprehensive program. So, of course, we train for the SAT. That is something we do. But we also have an additional program which we call the, comprehensive program, where we work with students right from profile building. What can be done, to enhance the profile, identify what are the gaps, and then recommend activities accordingly. Some essential skill development workshops, exam preparation, obviously, applications, well, helping with, identifying the summer schools, helping with the applications, and finally the whole interview application process, right? So if any of you, if you would want more information, if you so Avni, so this is one whole kind of, piece. This is not like, not piece by piece. So it's basically one whole piece. This is called the comprehensive program. So if anybody, if you want to, if you want information about this, then you can please leave your number in the chat along with the city that you are from. If you are so basically, so this is something that you already, some of you already enrolled in this. This is, we call it the DCP or EEP program, so you already know about this. If not, then just leave your number in the chat, along with your city that you are from. So with this, now we open the field, open the floor to for questions. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I will give you mic access, and then you can ask your question. All right. So the first question is from Nandini. Nandini, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
My question to Keya is do you rely on scholarships or do you pay the full amount for fees?
Yeah, hi Nandini. So, it definitely depends from student to student. I would say that I've been extremely privileged that I didn't need to apply for financial aid for Yale, but I do have a lot of friends who are applying for financial aid. I would say that Yale has need blind financial aid. There are also other colleges that have merit-based financial aid. For example, Duke and I know that University of Southern California also has. So I would say that if you're worried about getting a scholarship, if you can't afford to pay for college, if you're worried about getting a scholarship, then definitely I would say look, research about the resources that are available. There are a huge number of programs which are coming up. I can just give you a few examples of the US financial aid programs that I know. I'm not very familiar with Indian programs. For example, there's the Questbridge program, there is the Percy Foundation. There definitely do your research. Second of all, I would definitely say when you're applying for financial aid, it's a little bit tougher to get in. I don't think there's any denying in that. So I think that that's that much harder. You have to work in just setting yourself apart. But what Yale does offer is that once you do get into Yale, if your family income is below a certain amount for a particular year, you do not have to pay any amount to go to Yale. They'll give you 100% scholarship. And so basically, they're just basically brackets for what your family income is. And according to that, that's how much you have to pay to go to Yale. So I would definitely say also look into colleges that offer merit-based scholarships. If you have an incredible application, then those colleges will definitely give you a scholarship based on merit.
Thank you, Keya.
No problem.
Nivid, what's your question?
Hi, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. I'm Nived, and I'm currently studying with the CBSE board in the Gulf in Doha, Qatar. And I wanted to ask that how important is SAT score for the IVs and for the UCs, and how important is them for admitting us to the IVs, because I have a really good extracurricular background and academics, but I don't have a pretty good SAT score. So how important is, and do you recommend that with a low score to apply to the good colleges in the US?
Ask, are you currently in 12th grade, 11th grade? When do you start applying to college?
Currently I'm in 11th.
Apply next year, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it definitely depends. I would say SAT, and a good SAT score is above a 1500. I would definitely say when it comes down to the Ivy Leagues. Um, how important it is, it definitely depends on the year and who's applying. I think this year it a very major factor is that all schools went test optional, and I do know for 2021 and 2022 all schools will probably remain test optional. My advice to you would be that if you have the time to take the SAT again, if your extracurricular base is already strong, then I would definitely say do take it and try to get above a 1500. Any ammunition you have in, like, trying to set yourself apart from other applicants, it's only going to help in your favor. If there's this applicant, if you, for example, like Yale is trying to decide between you and another applicant, you have almost the same extracurricular base, same marks. What will it'll probably come down is the SAT score, because they have a very limited number of seats and they're just looking for very, very minute points different applicants. If you have the time, definitely do give it, prepare for it really well, get above a 1500. However, if you're not able to get a good score, and or if the testing just keeps getting cancelled because of COVID, I would say forget about it and try to focus on your essays. A lot of us underestimate the essay process and how important it is. Yeah, I think the essays can literally make or break your application. So if you're just taking if standardized testing is just taking too much of your time up, just forget about it and try to if it, of course, if it's test optional for your year as well, but just forget about it and try to focus on your essays, like try to get a really, really good job out of them.
Okay, thank you.
Next question is from Shagun Rana.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
First of all, congratulations, Kia. It's really happy to see you get into Yale. I've not seen any person, any Indian student get into Yale. So that's a big achievement. And my question, actually, there were many. So I like to ask one or two, if that's okay with you. The first one was about Common App essays. How many of them are those? Like there one or two essays, and what would you give as a superlative that worked?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. So, yeah, you mentioned a very important part of the application. Majority students who apply to US colleges apply through the Common App, which is basically, in case of those who don't know what the Common Application is basically a set application that is used for all of the colleges which are associated with the Common Application. All of the IVs are. There are colleges like Northwestern, Duke, USC, UNC Chapel Hill, NYU, all associated with the Common App. So basically, in that you have one writing section which is called the Common App essay. So the Common App essay is sent to every college. It's a 650 word essay, like that's the limit of the essay, and it's basically the extent of what you can write about in it is literally anything. My Common App essay was about mountain biking. This one time when I went to summer camp and I went on a mountain biking experience, and kind of just what I learned from it. I've only biked literally once in my life, but I would definitely say in the Common App essay, use your creativity. It can be about anything. I know people who've written about, for example, my sister wrote about measuring how she grew up just measuring things and how much probability affected her life. I know people who've written about gender roles in society, how that affected them, or the significance of the name that they were given. It can literally be about anything. Common App essay is the most important essay in your application. Apart from that, there are supplements that vary from college to college. Yale had about 6 to 7 essays in their supplement. It is very, very different for every college. Apart from the Common App essay, also one more essay that goes to every college is the COVID essay, which was I think just started this year. So it was about how COVID affected my life. So I mainly wrote about how I started my own little initiative for animals during COVID. And there's also another writing section in the Common App, which is additional information, which is basically if you haven't conveyed any information about yourself till now, which you really want the admissions officers to get to know, you can use that section. And after that come the writing supplements. Like Princeton had about 7, Harvard had about 3. So they really vary between each school. I would say that spend a lot of time on your Common Application, a Common App essay, because, and I would say that take a piece of paper and write down the aspects of your personality that you really think are very, very important and very true to who you are as a person. I wrote a lot about leadership in my Common App essay, which I think is very significant, and joining every single activity that I've done, whether it being my dance society or being president student council or starting my own initiative. So that was an extremely integral part. So just brainstorm about on a piece of paper what all is essential to you, and it can literally be about anything. You don't have to write about the conventional things, or you don't have to write about what you think that colleges will be impressed by. Try to be yourself, and I'm like very importantly stressing on this: be yourself, because colleges love having unique, weird, quirky people. So that's what I'd say.
Diversity is what they're looking for, right? So you should not and some people feel the need to write about the program that they're applying for, but that you should not do that. You will have other places to write about that. The common up essay, as the Keya says, it's no, it has to be unique. The admissions committee, they're going to read like hundreds of essays every day. So if it's not interesting enough, they're going to forget it. So it has to be interesting, it has to be unique, it has to be you. And don't talk about the fact that, okay, I got 95% this, that, not any of that. um yeah, anything else that is unique about you or interesting about you, anything that interests you. So do spend a lot of time on your common up. Every year I see students who start the common up essays 1 week before the deadlines, so just not a right approach.
I definitely agree with Ms. Satta. I started my Common App essay. It took me 1 month to write my Common App essay. It was a long, long process. There were about like 10 to 15 drafts of it. And I think I was definitely very satisfied with the end product, but it was an extremely long process. So definitely start it in advance and do not leave it up to the end moment, because, again, I would say that your grades can be bad, your test scores can be bad, you might not have extra and enough extracurriculars, but if your essays are extremely strong, that will set you apart for sure.
At least you will get an interview, and then you can impress the interviewer. Okay, Mahima Shri, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, congratulations. So I'm Mahima, and I just have a small query, more of like a doubt. Most of my activities that I do, extracurriculars, are very miscellaneous. Like, I've represented the country for a sport, and I'm a pianist, and I sketch portraits, and there are a lot of volunteering I do, but nothing is focused to one particular thing or a basic concept. So will that somewhere, affect my application?
Oh,
Um,
not at all. I was in the same position as you. You know, from what I can see, that you have extremely diverse interests, and that's what I had when I was applying as well. And as I mentioned before, that was one of my main concerns while applying, because I didn't know, like, I had everything. I mean, I had so many different things, and how do I present them all in the application? It will definitely not stand against you. Again, there are two different types of students who apply. One whose extracurricular is rooted in one particular field. For example, I know a person who got into Harvard this year. His main extracurricular was that he was an international level squash player, and he represented like the Indian team, and he's part of the Harvard squash team now. But for example, I know another person who got into Harvard who had completely diverse interests. So nothing stands against you. Um, just I would say that try focusing on the main part where you can link all of your interests together is in the essays. So in while writing your essays, do not be focused about writing like each essay on the same topic, like whatever your academic interest is. Don't write each essay about that, but writing each essay about a different topic, and just try to tie it together. For example, like I mentioned, I tied up a lot of my activities together by a single facet, which was leadership, which I felt that was a common trait in all of my activities. So that's what I would suggest you to do. Try to find like common links between the activities to present them as a whole.
okay,
So
I just
Mahima,
have an other
Mahima,
question.
just to add, I had worked with a student, similar to what you were saying. Very good at painting. She used to do like canvas, acrylic canvases and all. Then, she used to play the piano and so there the tying the common thread that we picked up was creativity. So you have to find and she used to write articles, she used to write short stories. So everything, if and but she, in her 11th and 12th, she had science, so she was worried that if I'm to talk about creativity, so won't the universities expect me to be a humanities student? So the answer is no. You can come up with creative solutions even when you are a science student. So we picked up so all her activities, varied activities, we tied up, with the common theme was creativity. So you just have to see, there has to be a common thread, one quality or couple of qualities that you can use to tie up all these activities. You have to spend some time on it, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a negative.
Yeah, and
Okay.
if I can just add to this 1 second, I think as Indian students, especially, I mean, I'm just assuming most of you who are listening are Indians, but as Indian students, I think we've always been taught that you should always gear your personality towards a particular way. Whether it being choosing streams in 11th grade, everything is pre-professional. People who prepare for IIT spend like years just focusing on a particular area. You need to have certain requirements, like you need to have taken math or physics or something like that. So I think we're just genetically just geared to think that our personality is only limited to one characteristic, and if we present something opposing, colleges won't like it. US colleges are they're looking for well-rounded individuals. So do not be afraid to express like completely contradictory facets to your personality. Like they will just be more and more interested in knowing you. So like don't be afraid of expressing whatever you're interested in.
Anshul, you can unmute yourself. So those of you who have any question, please raise your hand so that I can give you mic access, and then we can, you can ask your question. Yes, Anshul, please go ahead.
Uh, Around what criteria was your college selection mostly centered?
Yeah. So yeah, again, I think you've mentioned a really great point, which is about the college which is the right fit for you. Um, I don't know how much of you will actually like relate to this, but I'm just gonna say that brand name to a certain extent does not matter. Um, the I think the great part about US universities is that they have so many resources for each student that it's not even possible for you to use each and every single one of them. This is where your research comes in. I really wanted a college, first of all, where would have a really strong social science and humanities programs, because I knew that I definitely wanted to do something within that psychology and ethnicity, race, and migration. Yale, I definitely would say is not only at the top, but also it offers many interdisciplinary fields within the humanities. Like, they have this major called ethics, politics, and economics. They have computer science and economics. They have ethnicity, race, and migration. There are many intersections. So I think that really appealed to me. Second of all, I would say that if you have the time to, or the money and the resources, definitely try visiting some colleges. I visited Yale, I visited Stanford, I visited UC Berkeley and Columbia, and out of all four of them, I would say Yale, just the vibe of the campus, because the vibe of the campus is also important, because after all you're spending 4 years over there, you don't want to have a memorable and a happy college experience, right? And I think that Yale just felt the more like the nice vibe, or like the correct vibe for me. I also, just growing up, I had done a lot of music and dance, and Yale is excellent in the performing arts area. And, whether it being drama or music, and they had a lot of resources to offer that as well. I thought the people that I met there were extremely warm and friendly, and it's also very, very geared towards activism, uh, and just political activism, or just always a campus which is always striving for social change, which I saw was more potent as compared to the other Ivy Leagues, and I think that really appealed to me as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Again, sorry if I can just add to this. Um, do a lot of research to find out what college is the right fit for you. The type of personality, the type of vibes that each campus offers in the US is very, very different. And I think what will really help you is that YouTube is a really great resource for finding out what college life really is like. There are tons of students who talk about their experiences, who talk about what the colleges offer to them. So I would definitely say, tell you to look up on YouTube as well.
Harshit, you have a question?
Yeah. So, hi, Keya. I wanted to ask if there is any way that you can compensate for low high school grades. So, can you just talk about that for a little?
Yeah, for sure. So it's a holistic view of the application. There's no one particular factor that is going to make or break your application. There are students I know who with low grades who have gotten in. I would say for that, to compensate for those areas, try to have really strong essays. Try to explain if there are any particular circumstances. For example, I know that sometimes because of family deaths or because of financial trouble, sometimes students are not able to cope up academically. Colleges give you plenty of space to describe if you've faced any of such tough circumstances in your life which may have led to you suffering academically. Second of all, I would say try to compensate in your SAT scores. Try to take an AP, try to take AP tests and try to get a 4 or a 5 in them, because that will prove to the colleges that you can really survive the college course load. Third, I would say is that just try to make try to get a few academic extracurriculars which will show that you're strong academically as well. So again, whenever you're lacking, this is for anyone, whoever's wondering if they have a low SCT score, if they have low academics or low extracurriculars, you that if one aspect of your application is low, you have to make sure that the other parts, whatever aspects there are, compensate for that. You can have great LORs as well, which we haven't mentioned, which I haven't talked about yet, but LORs also matter a lot. So building those kind of relationships with teachers should also have a factor.
And again, you can take APs, you can take online courses through universities as Kia did, the Cornell program. You can this summer, almost all the universities, including Yale, they are going online for the summer program. So definitely take, prove to the universities that you are, no, that your low academic grades, don't define your academic caliber, right? So you have to kind of just get some more data, give them some more data to like assess your academic prowess. That's it. You have to think of it on those terms. And you can actually, if you get a very high SAT score, that would be a big plus. You can talk about that okay, that is the more recent thing anyway. And in your upcoming grades, whatever I mean, I don't know which class you were in. If you're in class 11th, then make sure that you do well in class 12 mid half yearlies, right? So whatever the next available academics are, make sure that you do well at those. Vishwa Modi, what's your question?
So, hi, Kya. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you for getting into Yale. So, yeah, now you said that you had a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'd like to ask you, like, how much did you participate in it, and how regularly did you put your videos, and like, how did you display it in your profile?
Yeah, sure. So, so as I was mentioning, I'd been playing the piano for a really long time, but I think the point where it started becoming an extremely important part of my life, just in general, would be, I think, around 10th grade, where I just found a really great teacher, and things just took off after that. In 12th grade, I realized that I did not have a lot of performance to show on my application, and just in general, I just wanted to perform more. So, of course, there was the pandemic, so there was not very much that I could do about it in person. But I did realize that just showing my talent, like just showing what I had on YouTube, would really help. So, I would say I posted about 10 to 15 videos, I think. Um, 10 to 15 videos, I would say. Again, do not start any extracurricular and anything for college, like 2-3 months in advance, because then the colleges know that you're doing that extracurricular only to impress them. I also had a concert that I organized, which I also put up on my YouTube channel, which was to raise funds for animals. So it was basically featured musical artists from all over India. So that I put up on my channel as well. Another thing that I also did to showcase my like musical talents was that I submitted a musical supplement to Yale. So basically, what that is that uh, actually every college offers this. Whatever talent that you have in the performing arts or visual arts, can be music, dance, it can be architecture, also creative writing. Um,
Painting, anything, Yeah,
what you like creative, they
right.
give you the chance to give a supplement, which is basically either a few paintings or a few music videos. So I submitted 2 pieces of my playing to Yale, along with a resume, and that's what I submitted to them. So I think that really also helped in showcasing that I was accomplished in music and that it was a very big integral part of my life. Like I can see someone said here that I'm an artist. Yeah, like definitely. If you're an artist, you have some really great paintings under you, submit a portfolio to the colleges. It can only help in your favor. But I would also say this, that be sure before submitting it. Do not just submit any random stuff, because they can really impact your application negatively. Make sure that you're definitely accomplished in that field, and it's definitely for a high school student, you're extremely accomplished and exceptional in that field, and make sure that it's a good concrete supplement that you're submitting, and not just anything that you did last minute. Like I remember I recorded my supplement like a few months in advance, and just to keep it ready.
So basically, if you are like you're painting or whatever you do creativity wise, and if that is more of a hobby, then before submitting the supplement, I would recommend that you get those pieces, assessed by a professional. What you think to be good need not be good, right? So if your painting is just a hobby, then do get it assessed. Do get those assessed by a professional painter, let's say, or whatever your thing is, right? But the art supplement, if it can actually end up harming you if you just, as Kea said, if you don't submit pieces that are up to the mark, right, that are not good. Okay.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right, so Vihari, what's your question? We'll take 3 more questions. So yes, Vihari, you can unmute yourself. Are you there, Vihari?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Actually, the question which I wanted to ask is that when I Google what will the university look at me and how should I choose my university, it says choose a university which is suitable for you. I don't understand. Means, can you justify that?
Yeah, sure. Let me just start with an example. I think that would be probably best. My mom went to Delhi University. She went to JMC. I have grandparents who went to like colleges, people who've never, like literally, I've never at least heard of those names before. So I would definitely say that the brand name does not come in. There are so many universities in the US. There are colleges, there are websites, college websites, there are YouTube channels. There's a site called College Confidential, which is, I think, really helping. So you might want to check that out as well. There are so many resources that are available, and I think that's what Jamboree does, is it helps find the college that's the right fit for you. For example, this I'm just making this up. You may be really great at sports, and you may want to major in computer science, and for that I would say, like, okay, maybe something like USC, which has one of the best computer science programs in the country, and it's really great for sports as well. So it's all about what your interests are, and where do you think is the college where your interests will get pushed and nurtured the most, and the college where you genuinely think you'll have the best experience at. Do not restrict yourself to the Ivy Leagues or the top colleges, or the UCs or colleges you've only heard about, but really, really try to come up with a list of, like, for example, just Google lists of colleges that are there. For example, there are things called liberal arts colleges, which are extremely small, um, remotely located colleges, which are more very academically intensive colleges, like Amherst, Swarthmore, Williams. There are so many like students who I know who only apply to liberal arts colleges, like those top small liberal arts colleges. So that's like another field in itself. So literally just Google the names and try to check out the website, try to check the YouTube channels and their resources that they have to offer, and as well as the alumni who've gone to that school, because that just really helps to demonstrate the kind of path that you're looking for. Just an example, I think that Brown University in general is just a university is very look for kind of students who are very interested in the love of learning, because they have the open curriculum, whereas UPenn, I would say, is kind of diametrically the opposite. They're more focused on real world teaching and how like how your learning in college can be applied to success. So it's every college has like a very different motto, as I think you could say. So I think Jamboree really helped me in finding the best fit for what I thought was for me.
See, in nothing, as Kia said, lots of universities, right? So having lots of universities actually means a lot of work. If there are only, like, if you want to go to Canada, for instance, there are just 10 decent universities worth going to. So you have to just research those 10 universities. If you want to go to Singapore, there are just three good universities worth going to. So you research those three universities. But in a country like the US, where there are like about 100 good colleges, so you have to do a lot of research, right? And if there's any particular field that that you want to, pursue. So I had a student a couple of years ago. He was completely into virtual reality, right? Computer programming. And he was very keen that the brand name doesn't matter. He wanted to get into the top virtual reality research lab, university that had the topmost reality research lab. So he went to Iowa State University. So it is not a top 10, 15 universities, but it's, Iowa State had the country's number one virtual reality lab. So he went there. He specialized there. He's currently doing his PhD. So from his bachelor's degree, he directly went to a PhD. He didn't even do an intermediate master's degree. So it totally depends on you, what you are looking at, what your interests are. So if by the way, if you do not have any such a marked liking or inclination towards anything, then usnews.com is a good place to start. You will at least know which are the good universities. Then you can reverse engineer to find something that you are interested in, right? We also get quite a huge chunk of students who are not sure what they like. So that's completely understandable. You are just 16, 17, completely understandable. So start with usnews.com, go through the top 50 or 20, 30 universities, see what you like, and then probably do your research. So either way, it's fine. So the second last, the penultimate question of the day, Khanak, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Hi, Kya. First of all, congratulations. And so I wanted to ask that, like, just as you told that you have interest towards humanity and psychology field, I carry a similar interest, and even I want to pursue something in psychology and humanities. So, how did you showcase those interests through your profile? Like, what were the extracurriculars that showcase them? Or like, did you like mention your to major and like then mentioned your extracurriculars related to that, or like uh, did you like did not mention any of those in your extracurriculars? And because in my case, my extracurriculars are not very much related to what I want to pursue as my major.
Okay, yeah. So, good question. I would say I did not have any particular extracurriculars which were related to psychology, which I think, now that I think of it, may have been a negative part, but I don't think that necessarily matters. First, I think all of my academic accomplishments were more towards the data science, computer science aspect, which helped in showcasing my interest in computer science. But I think what really got me in as a psychology major, I would say that a lot of my essays, like that, in my essays, you could see that that was a consistent liking for me. For example, Yale has a question that they ask you to list down your top three majors, and then they ask you to explain why those areas appeal to me. So I not only answered psychology and like talked about psychology in that question, but also in like one or two other essays I talked about that. So I think just in general you could make out that it was a continuous interest of mine and not just something I was mentioning. Again, I would say that if your academic extracurriculars are different from what you want to major in, I don't think it's that big of an issue. I think the purpose of them is just because colleges, the whole purpose of applying for a liberal arts education is because they know that you're indecisive, and that everyone's, I think like 90% students majors completely change when they get to college. My sister's major changed from math to something in humanities. So that's the level to which they exchange. So they don't expect you to have all the extracurriculars in one field. If you do, then it's great, I think. But if you don't, I don't think stress about it. But I think just try to display your interest in humanities a lot in the essays. And one thing I would definitely say is that do not focus your essays only about writing your experiences in your extracurriculars. Like, do not basically make it a copy of your activities section, but try to write about new things that did not come out in your activities experiences.
So last question of the day, Achint, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, so hi. I was wondering how to write an essay. Like, how do you transition from from interest to interest? Like, essay has a lot of paragraphs, and you talk about a lot of things. Like, how do you transition it? I'm a really poor essay writer, so can you give me any tips on that?
I'm sorry, can you just repeat your question?
How do you transition your what you're trying to imply in your essay? Like, you have a lot of paragraphs, so how do you transition your from one interest to another interest? And
Okay.
also provide me some tips, can you please?
Yeah, sure. For essays, what helped me, I think, but I found this tip really later in my application process when I was almost done with it, is that what helps me is when I write, for example, let's say that there's this question, let's just take my Common App essay, which was about mountain biking, and I knew that there were 2-3 questions about myself that I wanted to answer. For example, most important, what did I learn from the experience? So what helped me was writing the question and then having a few bullet point, like writing my answer in bullet points, not caring about what the grammar was, what the language was, just basically just really just how basically how I would be speaking to you about my experience, just writing it down. And then when the meat of the essay really came together, then is when I started compiling it and kind of just adding like the nice language and the nice like references and stuff like that. So that's what really helped me, like answering things in a question answer format and then piecing it together into an essay. So I don't know what helps you. You can maybe try this out. For the essays, I would definitely say brainstorm a lot at first. Try to write down on a piece of paper who do you think you are. Ask the people around you. Ask your parents. Ask your siblings. Ask your teachers. Who the top 3 characteristics that they feel are like really poignant to what personality that you have. Second is brainstorm about all the interesting experiences. For example, let's say like you're meeting a new person for the first time. What's the first thing that you're going to tell them about yourself? Write that down and write how you can include that in your application. So I would just say that try to find very interesting experiences. Try to definitely make other people read your essays, because a lot of times what may be clear in your mind while reading your essay may not be clear in a third person's point of view, which I think was very poignant in my example as well. I think I kept writing essays which were extremely clear in my brain because, like, obviously, I'd experienced that. But like when my mom read my essay, she felt that she couldn't really understand what I was trying to say. So uh, and try to make like as many people as you can read your essay, so that you can like ensure that the point that you want to communicate is really coming across. And yeah, I would just say that take a lot of time, read sample essays. There are lots of essays available on YouTube online by students who got in. I spent a lot of time on that because I think it gave me an idea into how wide my thinking could diverge into. So I would just say that just brainstorm on a piece of paper and then just start writing. Do not spend too much time thinking about what the correct topic is, because you otherwise you're going to just end up writing a really bad essay.
One thing that you should do to make sure that all the things about yourself that you want to talk about, that they get enough attention. This is like a handy trick, that I usually ask students to do, that on a piece of paper first write down what your accomplishments are, Then at the end of each essay, so as treat each university as essay as a set. So your common up essay, you will be in each essay you will be probably talking one or two of the things in your profile will probably be highlighted. Then in the, if you're applying to Yale, so Yale let's say has 3 4 5 essays, so in each essay what are the one or two things in your profile that you are focusing on. So if you there are like 5 great things about your profile or 5 things that you want the admissions committee to pay attention to, then make sure that those 5 things are covered in like in that application set. So if there are only 2 essays in the supplement and 2 essays in the among those 4 essays, those 5 things must be highlighted. So there nothing important should be left out, right? So yeah, so just start by first zeroing in on those 5 things, 4 things, or 3 things about yourself that you really want to talk about to the admissions committee. And then make sure that your essays display those things. Read all the applications, sorry, all the essays of a certain application, of a university application, together as a set. Make sure that there are no contradictions. Make sure that your story is in sync. So that is one last exercise that you should do before submitting the application to any university. So that's why applying too close to the deadlines I never recommend. When you are applying to 5 universities that have the December 31st deadline, so you are bound to mess up something. So start, give at least a 1 week gap between your applications, and at least 1 week gap. So if you're applying to university number one, then before applying to university number two, there should be a minimum 1 week gap where you are reading all the documents of that university number two, to get together as a set, right? So yes, you have to do a lot of things for your profile. You have to take your SAT exams, etc., etc. But everything will just fall apart if you do not submit a good application. It's just not enough to have a great profile. You have to let the universities know that you have a great profile. So give enough time for your applications. You just have one shot. SAT, if you mess up the first time, you can write it a second time. But if you submit something wrong in an application, that's gone. You can't fix it, right? So I can't stress enough. Every year students just they apply on the day of the deadline. Not a good practice. So Kea, any parting advice for students who are thinking of taking the SAT exams, or students who are in the middle of the application process?
Yes. I mean, if I can just answer one question that I thought was a little important in the middle, if that's fine. Like, I
Yeah,
just saw
sure,
that in the chat
sure,
box.
sure, sure.
One person asked me if the 11th grade marks are not count, like they normally go down in CBSE schools.
Right, 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 yeah.
I was worried about that. I think it's an important point. First of all, I don't think a lot of students know this, but the admissions officers that sit and read your applications are different for every region. So there's a different admissions officer for US students and a different admissions officer for for India and for South Asian regions. So they are very, very aware of the type of students that they are getting. They completely know what CBSE is, how the testing works, how in from 10th to 11th the marks drop, which is what happened for me. I went from a 97 to a 92%, 93%. So they are extremely aware of that. So if you're worried about people understanding context, do not be. Admissions officers are so well versed with that, is that they even know which teacher sends which, like the kind of teachers that send like letters of recommendation, because they've probably got them the years in advance, and the kind of recommendations that they used to. So do not be worried about context in your application. Lastly, I would just say to everyone who's applying, do not stress. It's I think I mean I won't I'm kind of a hypocrite if I say this, because I stressed a lot during my applications as well. It is a little bit inevitable to stress, but do not define your whole life on it. It's because at the end of the day, those admissions officers are spending like 5 minutes on each application. It's a lot of luck involved. I would probably say like only 50% of your application counts, 50% is just luck. A lot depends on who your admissions officer is, how that person was feeling. Did that person have a good lunch, or did that person have a bad lunch, is he in a fight with someone, what kind of mood he is in. There are just too many variables that come into play. So do not define yourself based on whether you get accepted or rejected from your dream school. Just remember there are plenty of other schools out there, and if you've truly worked hard during the process and given it your all, you will end up at a school where you'll make the best of like your 4 years. And I would just say that just try to find the school where you will generally be the happiest. I had a cousin who went to UIUC, again not the most well-known college, but now he majored in, but it's the top for computer science, and now he's has a really really high paying job with Uber. So that literally just shows the kind of college that you go to does not define your success or excellence in life. So just try to have a good college experience and do not stress, and just remind yourself to take a break once in a while and do not get burnt out, please.
Spoken like a true, Yale, would be Yale grad. So thank you very much, Kia, and wish you the very best of luck. Enjoy your college experience.
Sure, thank you so much.
Do stay in touch,
Yes.
and everybody, I hope you had, I hope you got some information that you were looking for. All the best, all the best to all of you. I hope you guys, get what you're looking for, and have a great life, have a great year, and wish you all a very happy new year, and a very happy new year to you too, Kia.
Thank you. I just want to add one last note. If anyone wants, then because I think the entire application process, I was extremely blessed to have a lot of people who helped me. So what I'll do is I can leave my Instagram down below if anyone wants to message me, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.